So we will kick off, friends. Good morning, afternoon, depending on where you're dialing in from. Thanks for joining us. Our February 2022 Digital Twin Hub Meet, one of a series. Looking forward to having you join this conversation today. Before we do kick off, I would like to acknowledge the First Nations people as the original inhabitants of the land at which I'm participating in this session today. I'm in Brisbane, Queensland. I'd like to recognise the land north and south of the Brisbane River as home to both the Turrbal and Jagera nations and pay deep respect to their elders, past, present and emerging. Some logistics, cameras are optional. We'd love to see you if you can. If you have bandwidth issues, equally, we understand. If you're in a noisy place or you've got background noise or subject to distractions, potentially, the mute button is there for you to exercise. And the chat box is open. Please use that to share any views, thoughts, questions, or links that may be relevant to the conversation that we're having. For those of you that are participating in the first Digital Twin Hub meet for the year, you missed our January conversation around digital twin maturity models, but plenty more to go. We're in February. GIS and Digital Twin is the topic for today, and you'll see that we have quite a diverse series lined up. Next month, actually, I'd like to highlight the March DT Hub meet. There will be a digital twin technology showcase. We will have a handful of digital twin technology vendors come online and share the capabilities of their platforms and technology and approaches. So very much encourage you to make sure you're online next month. If you wanted to register for any of these, you can head to the Digital Twin Hub, digitaltwinhub.org. And also, if you haven't put in your calendar already, 7th of July is the Digital Twin Summit in New Zealand, and October 17 to 21, Digital Twin Week. Assuming the world may be a little bit normal towards the second end of the year, we're hoping, of course, for that to be partially in person in Melbourne. The New Zealand Summit, again, subject to levels of normality, will be in person in Wellington, following up from our inaugural one last year in 2021. So to save the dates, make sure you have those in your calendar. We use the DT Hub Meet also to share what's happening with the Digital Twin Challenge. For those of you, of course, that are aware, 18-month program of work engagement with a group of 18 organizations across public, private sector and academia. They are listed there up on the screen. And what they are doing is that they are building out 13 projects, undertaking 13 projects, very diverse, predominantly sort of horizontal resources we are creating. And the plan is, of course, at Digital Twin Week this year in October, we will publish and launch each of those 13 knowledge resources that are created, donating them back to everyone in government and industry for free so that you can get a head start on your digital twin activity and action and investment. So we use the DT Hub Meet to intersect with the work that's happening on the challenge. And here's an example of 5 projects among the 13 that are advancing quite swiftly. You'll see a diversity there. The template for a digital twin strategy well underway. Likewise, a guidance note for embedding landscape into our digital twin work. We have a digital twin education program. The master slide deck is under development as we speak. Just yesterday, our Digital Twin for Urban Growth co-leads came together, and we're working on a roadmap now for how digital twin can intersect and be an opportunity for urban planning and design to achieve great outcomes. And IoT and digital twins, what are the 10 hot questions when it comes to IoT and digital twins, we will have the answers in that knowledge resource. So just a sample of the 13 projects that are advancing. And one of those projects, among the 13, you may not have seen it in the big long list. One of those projects is GIS, and what is the roadmap, the pathway, the intersection, the evolution of GIS and digital twin. Where are the intersecting points and opportunities? And to do that, to have that conversation, we pull up, of course, as you should all be aware, the definition of a digital twin, which is a set of very powerful capabilities, a connection between the real and the virtual or digital, the ability to integrate data, ingest it, integrate it, analyze, simulate, and visualize. It's a data play, and these are the 5 core digital twin capabilities, and each of our 13 digital twin challenge projects using this set of capabilities to build those knowledge resources. So today we ask the question, where does GIS and digital twin hang out together? Maybe, do they? Where? How? And we start, I suppose, by overlaying some capabilities. This is work we've been doing as part of the Digital Twin Challenge to try and see where various bits fit together so we can identify gaps, highlight opportunities. And if you believe what is on the screen here with the big green box sitting behind the 5 core capabilities, one would be led to believe that GIS actually has a huge role in our digital twin capability. But you don't need to believe me, you don't need to buy into this, but helping us work through this conversation today, I'm delighted to have with us as our guest and one of our active members in the Digital Twin Challenge cohort, Chris Blackstock from Frontier SI. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, as we know at the DT Hub meets, these are casual, they're informal, we have a conversation, but I'm going to hand over to you to share some views. You spent some time being part of the GIS mafia in many ways. You're working deep in digital twins at the moment, looking forward to your views. And for our audience, what we'll do is after Chris gives us a little overview of what's rolling around in his head with this topic, we're going to open the floor and we're going to have a conversation together. So Chris, with that, I'm going to fade off in the background, switch my camera off, and we are in your hands. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Adam. Thanks, everyone. So, little background from me. As Adam mentioned, I spent about 15 odd years in the technical GIS space, in public and private in Australia and Canada, and then spent a few years looking at sort of a more strategic approach, management consulting type approach to GIS, and then shifted back in the last year or so to Frontier SI, based in Queensland, working with government, working with industry, working with academia around the shift towards digital twins, definitely from that real sort of spatial background. So Adam's asked me to just sort of download some of my thoughts and to start with a bit of a conversation around what is GIS, a bit of a GIS state of the union. Where are the trends? Where is it tracking? And how does that frame the approach to GIS and the digital twin space? So firstly, from my perspective, it's pretty important to frame GIS as more than just the tool. In the past, when people have thought of GIS, and I'm sure many still do to this day, they think of a tool, ArcMap, MapInfo, QGIS, Google Maps. The trend really shifted over the last sort of 10 to 15 years towards GIS as being that all-encompassing platform and then service. On-prem, web-based, mobile, capable of data management, visualization, analysis, decision support, dashboarding, storytelling, yada, yada, all of the above. And from a GIS perspective, this is where a lot of professional GIS people have been living for quite a while now, building up these capabilities, the capabilities that overlap with the current discussion around digital twins. GIS over this time has also become more horizontal and generic, suitable for any organization, any business unit, and more recently, any user within an organization, not just specialized to the more vertical domains and technical experts. This latest shift in direction for GIS is designed to really make GIS apps and capabilities accessible to every person, every industry, in any location. And while Google Maps may have started this, we're seeing really significant movement in this direction on many fronts. The open GIS communities are growing fast around the world, fast-tracking tools like QGIS, Postgre, Mapbox. Esri is actively trying to position itself as the next Microsoft, a commodity within the workplace, side by side with SAP or Word or Excel. And open data sharing is mandated across pretty much every jurisdiction in the world. So this brings us to the GIS convergence with digital twins. And where Adam and I were just talking about this earlier, there's a lot of kind of misconception, but in the eyes of many GIS professionals, GIS can already do everything that new wave digital twins are being built up to be able to do. Visualization in 2D, 3D, 4D, analysis, connecting and integrating data. I had a little chuckle with the image Adam put up on screen saying GIS doesn't collect data. A lot of GIS people would vehemently disagree with that phenomenal amounts of data are collected and created from GIS as well as many other areas. And these capabilities in many organizations is what the GIS department has been tasked with for many years as the resident data scientist or the resident data manager or the resident data visualization person, often with great success. And while I don't want to open the can of worms around what exactly a digital twin is, that question is often a key part of the conversation around GIS to digital twin, particularly with GIS professionals who ask, what is the actual difference between a GIS and a digital twin? What does a digital twin look like? Where does GIS stop and the digital twin begin? Will this digital twin make GIS and me less important? Will it make GIS less special? I came from the GIS world for a long time, and GIS often believe they're very special. Now that's been changing as the more sort of commoditization of GIS becomes more common and everyone can access it. But this is also a key part of where I've seen a lot of misunderstandings and misconceptions and potential pushback, particularly from that GIS side around any push towards a digital twin initiative. So in my eyes, digital twins and GIS really complement each other incredibly well. Digital twins are inherently spatial, with spatial data analysis and visualizations being critical capabilities. Digital twins, however, take these GIS-centric capabilities and value propositions that are established in many organizations to the next level, incorporating more data, reaching more end users, and generating much more insights and value. To do this, digital twin really needs to decouple itself from GIS to a certain degree. It needs to take an approach that incorporates spatial, but is not purely spatial. It needs to bring other technologies to the table, such as data lakes, OLAP cubes, data science tools, many of which are things that GIS technology like Esri doesn't always play nicely with. It also needs to develop a much more mature and robust governance framework and set of controls, more than most GIS teams will ever require or want to implement. From the other side, a GIS program can also really benefit from a successful digital twin implementation in many ways. First and foremost, a digital twin adds perceived value through the reuse of the core GIS data assets. A digital twin can also act as an aggregator for data that GIS can then leverage. Not only for, like, the data itself, but also the analysis outputs and insights that are generated by GIS, extending the reach, use, and value of these derived data sets and decision support tools. So finishing off my little rant here, noting that this is definitely an open conversation. This is just my point of view, and really interested to hear other perspectives as well as we go through this. But going back to the core questions around the convergence, the cooperations, and even coexistence of GIS and digital twins within organizations, there are a couple of key areas or sort of key pieces that I see critical. One is that GIS should be seen as a core partner in digital twin initiatives, not just a data provider. Because where possible, digital twin initiatives could leverage GIS existing capabilities, value propositions, infrastructure and data assets, and even senior champions. In this regard, GIS departments, GIS groups, GIS capabilities that have been established in organizations may have been there for 20 or 30 years. They may have some really senior champions. They may have some really good assets. They may not, but in certain situations, GIS can be a really great on-ramp for a digital twin. However, my second key point is that digital twins need a little independence from GIS. They need to properly incorporate non-spatial and wider IT components, breaking sole reliance on legacy GIS technology stacks, and sometimes to shed the baggage and to start afresh, really aiming for a lot of the same things a GIS capability might provide within an organization, but looking bigger and rebranding and coming in fresh at some of these things. And the third key point that I have is that every organization is different, and different organizations will benefit from different approaches when coming at this digital twin initiative and incorporating GIS. Some organizations will benefit greatly from using GIS as that on-ramp, while others might find it better to start afresh. Some may also have amazing SCADA or IoT programs that might be a better foundation for that leap to digital twins, or an established analytics capability. There is, and I think as the maturity of these larger digital twins, these sort of city level, state level digital twins particularly start to come in, there is no one right model. There is no one right approach because we just haven't seen it yet. But it's going to be really interesting to see where those real success stories come in relation to how they marry that GIS capability and leverage that while also taking it to that next step where digital twins really do frame that whole of government, whole of organization, whole of sector type approach and really helping to drive decision-making right across the board. So that's my little spiel. Hopefully that wasn't too ranty, but I'll pass it back to Adam. I think we've got a couple of questions to open up to the floor.
Yeah, Chris, thank you for that. I'm just going to push pause on the recording now.